Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And I'm Scott Nichols.
Well, happy Thanksgiving week.
Holy mackerel.
Where has this year gone?
I don't know. It seems like we just did an episode for Thanksgiving week.
I know.
And it was a year ago.
Yes. In
That
fact,
is crazy.
Oh, no kidding. No kidding. Well, you guys got big plans?
No, I mean, we're just going to hang out at home, chill out, relax. My wife and I have been working so hard on master's programs that we just want to chill.
Okay.
Actually, we're probably, going to spend some time finishing up those programs, but we're also going to do some relaxing. So
very, very nice. Well, I know that I think my favorite part of Thanksgiving actually is all the food.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've shared this practically every Thanksgiving, but there are certain food items that show up on the Thanksgiving menu that don't show up really any other time of the year.
Right.
And in fact, I had a conversation with my mom. Oh, golly, it's been over a month ago already. And we were chatting it up and the Thanksgiving meal popped up and she goes, oh, I know, because we were talking about, food items.
Right.
And one year my mom had scaled back the food items that were available. She goes, well, a lot of you guys, I had two sisters that were coming back for Christmas that year. And she said, well, I didn't want to have it all on Thanksgiving and then have to redo or have something radically different for Christmas. So I thought, well, we'll just move some of them over. I'm going, no, I don't care if they come back for Christmas. Right. Thanksgiving, we have, and in this case, it was broccoli rice casserole.
Okay.
That my sister makes.
Sounds good.
Oh, it is very good. And an old German recipe of pork and sauerkraut.
Oh, that sounds good too.
And anyway, she kind of didn't have them at the Thanksgiving table. And I'm going, whoa.
Yeah.
But, so anyway, so now we laugh about, well, we'll have them back.
Right. Well, I think that, I like pumpkin pie. That's a big thing for me. Mm-hmm. We don't have that often outside of the Thanksgiving week. And, I really like stuffing. Oh, we don't eat that a lot outside of Thanksgiving week either. So I didn't name any real healthy things there, but I don't think Thanksgiving is about healthy foods.
No.
I am not big on tofurkey. I think that some people are, and that's great. That's just not my thing.
No.
Right. But I love the food and the time together. Now I think on Thursday we have 8 of us.
Okay.
8 of us around the table this year. So it's a smaller group, but we will have probably the same amount of food that we would have for twice that many people.
Well,
so we end up eating turkey, which I am not a huge fan of, for days, maybe even a whole week afterwards.
Well, we actually started frying a turkey.
Oh, really?
And so I love a fried turkey.
Yeah. I've heard of those exploding and that kind of thing if you do it wrong.
If you do it stupidly, yeah. But
I just said wrong. I wasn't going to use the word stupidly. But
well, if they blow up, it's because you had your head up your tail end in your mind in Arkansas. So
wow, I'll remember that if mine blows up.
Okay,
but I'm not gonna do that. Okay. I'm afraid of that happening.
Okay. Well, one thing that I love more than the food,
yeah,
which is a funny thing coming from a fat guy like me, I like the storytelling.
Sure.
And sometimes it's rehashing some of the same old stories.
Yeah.
But I love being together and just laughing and reminiscing. And, as we sit around together, I think that's probably my most favorite part of all.
Yeah, I can see that, besides the football.
Well, yeah, and this year, we have the Chiefs and the Cowboys, two of my favorite teams, playing against each other.
Right.
So...
And I know that sometimes you're a Cowboys fan and most of the time you're a Chiefs fan, but now on this game you're definitely just they're not playing each other, right? So,
No, they are. They
are playing each other.
They
so
are.
I'd say I'm not even up on the schedule. So you're definitely a Chiefs fan in this one.
I will, though I'm half tempted to wear a Chiefs shirt and a Cowboys hat.
Yeah, but I feel like it's a given that the Chiefs are going to win.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Cowboys can't play their way out of a wet paper bag. So
It's terrible.
But anyway.
But the stories are great, right? And most of the time, our stories happen while the game is playing. So we don't pay a huge amount of attention to the game. There's a little bit. Some people may pay more attention than others, but
yeah,
we're always talking and chatting. It's like being at a baseball game where you watch the game, but you also like chat with all the people around you.
Oh, absolutely. Because we're talking about, you remember that one year where we were all watching this game, or you remember that year that dad did this or
Sure.
cousin did that, or.
And I think for us this year, we've lost a couple of family members in the past couple of years and one this year. So, and I did that whole project where I moved all our videos from VHS to digital. So like we have access to all that, and we can do a little reminiscing that way. That'd be fun.
Well, so the idea of storytelling got me to explore this a little bit. And I have to say that storytelling is very historical as far as for pretty much time in memoriam. When we get together, that's what we do. We eat, but part of that eating, we talk. In fact, they've done some scientific studies that show that when families actually talk and visit while they eat, they become stronger as a family. They show more emotional resilience to all the crazy crap that happens.
Yeah.
And so I thought, and I kept, as I was reading through some of that, I thought back to my history, my family history, and I have been told, well, Rod, you're a storyteller.
Right.
And when I was teaching, I taught with stories.
Yeah.
But I got thinking, well, some of my earliest memories are sitting around summertime lunch or weekends, lunchtime, and my grandparents would have the radio on, and you had Paul Harvey.
Yep.
And Paul Harvey and the rest of the story.
And so
I would learn. So I learned history in a story.
Yeah.
Well, then I come from a long line of storytellers on both my mom and my dad's side. And so they told stories. And, some of those stories were pretty darn humorous. But I learned the value of storytelling, how you can learn a lot through a story.
Sure.
And so part of what they're saying is that when you are sitting around the dining room table and you're eating and enjoying and laughing, you're telling stories. Well, the kids are hearing these stories. And it helps children connect to the past.
Right.
And I'd never thought about that before until I was reading, some of this research, and it was kind of like, wow, that's me.
Yeah.
I think that's why I fell in love with history.
Yeah. I that makes sense, right? I mean, storytelling has gone way back, like you said. I mean, before we had written word, what you had was storytelling. And, you talked about being around the dinner table and telling stories and creating empathy. I mean, if you're not talking to people, how are you creating relationship? Just because you're related by biology doesn't mean you know each other, right? You have to be talking to each other, conversing, getting an understanding of people's perspectives and what they're going through. And all of that can take place through stories.
Well, totally.
Yeah.
And what I found interesting, too, is the concept, and it made sense. But if you've got kids hearing stories about their grandparents and their great-grandparents and the trials and tribulations that they overcame, could you possibly be instilling resilience in the children going, well, shoot, that sounds a lot worse than what I've got?
Sure.
And so, well, if they can survive that, can I survive what I'm going through? So are we developing resilience in the children simply by telling stories of the good old days?
Well, and it gives them a sense of heritage, right? Like this is what my family has done and accomplished, and I can accomplish too. I can do things as well. And so it creates a connection to that past that we don't all have, right? I don't have a lot of stories about my grandparents or great-grandparents, especially. But, this was a big thing in a lot of cultures to pass those things down and get an understanding of what your history was that you were connected to. And I think it's great to make those connections.
I have found now that as we have, my sisters and I are the adults, in fact, grandparents, and my two older sisters, we're continuing traditions that were started when we were, that our grandparents started. And so the recipes of the foods are being passed down.
Right.
And I mean, what's fun is my one sister, she actually has a recipe of my grandmother's pancakes and my grandmother's handwriting. And so you pull that out and it's like an instant connection to some of those memories. In our case, my grandmother, both my grandparents lived on a farm that goes all the way back to, crying out loud, the 1890s.
Yep.
And so my grandmother was born in that house, lived in that house right up until the Parkinson's got so bad she had to move into town.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, that house was her house from the very beginning.
Right.
And so, but we would, you start thinking back to waking up on a Saturday morning and you smell the food in the memory by just simply seeing her words. Which I think that's really kind of cool because you're right. The storytelling and, you remember that one time.
Right.
And so
it's really important.
Well,
it's really important to make that connection.
Well, you also brought up the idea of you don't know your family history as well. Well, that's what this can help address. And if nothing else, you're making memories for your grandchildren.
Yeah, and I think there's, like, in my situation, I may not know as much, but I do know the stories that I can, the more recent ones that I can tell to my kids, and hopefully they will carry that tradition on and tell those stories down the line, and they will get passed on, and we can break that cycle of, not having a story. But, there's also lots of tools out there, right, where you can try to go discover pieces of the story, right? Like the all the websites that have you looking up family histories, through genetics and all that stuff. I mean, you can find all kinds of things to make some connections. So I think that that's really cool that we have that in our day and age, that access to knowledge, that we can put those things together and maybe discover some stories and then share those too.
Like 23andMe, I think Sherry and I did that one.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. And I guess at this day and age, it feels like, at least it feels like that the younger generation, my nieces and nephews, especially those that are in their 20s, are disconnecting. Mm-hmm. They don't want to come to family events, or they'll come late and leave as soon as they possibly can, or they don't come at all. Well, I don't want to go down there. And like I want to say the last 13 years, we've met at my mom and dad's. My sisters and I make a concerted effort to meet at my parents' house there in Arkansas.
Yeah.
And we have a real good time. But it feels like my nieces and nephews are, now I got a couple that are deployed in the military. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good excuse to be able to come when you're living in another country. But I've got others that are a little, they're still hours away. I got it. And it is a big deal. But I don't get to see them hardly at all anymore.
Well, it's tough too, right? And I don't want to bring any judgment on people. We've got family all over the country, and we can't all get together. I mean, if we did, we'd need a ballroom for one. I don't know how effective that would be in visiting everybody anyway.
Sure.
But, people get married and they go off and they have kids and they do things and they're part of other families. And so there's different traditions that come into play and all that. But, the nice thing is you can take the storytelling with you. But, we can't all always get together. But, again, technology solves this problem for us.
Well,
right?
That's true. And that is one wonderful thing. And that's kind of where I was headed with this, is that even when we can't, I've noticed that some of my nieces will prepare some of the same foods.
Yeah.
That because they're taking that tradition with them, and being able to tell some of those stories, playing Monopoly. I'll gather around and play a rousing game of BS or, fun stuff like that. And with FaceTiming or Zoom calls, you get a chance to, hey.
Yeah.
And so, but that's where I think that storytelling helps build that bridge across generations, even if it feels like they're not as physically connected.
Yeah, I think that's fun. I mean, in our first year living in Florida, after moving from the Northeast, we didn't really have anybody to connect with for Thanksgiving, so it was just us.
Okay.
And we had always done Thanksgiving with family somewhere, it was just us. And we had, we couldn't travel. We didn't really have the money at that point to travel, and we probably also wanted to go to Disney the next day or something because that's us. But yeah, I remember, we got out, it was just years ago. So we got out like the webcam and we hooked it up, and we had the TV, and we hooked up the laptop to the TV and did this whole video thing through what was at the time Skype, which is now gone. But, we did Skype and connected with family in the Northeast, and that was kind of fun, right? Like,
sure.
We got to visit and talk and see each other in the environments we were in, and then we went off and had dinner separately, but we still got to visit. And I think that the technology is much better now than it was when we did that. But it's a good way to still make a connection on the day with the people, and it's easy for everyone to do. And I think most everybody has somebody in the group has the technology to make it happen. So it can be a lot of fun.
And yes, and that brings me to something else that can also happen is when you get together and you're telling, you're recalling memories, you're telling stories. Sometimes it can also be therapeutic in helping heal wounds.
Yeah.
Wait
a minute, heal wounds on Thanksgiving? Wow, that's great. Because that's not usually what happens on Thanksgiving.
No,
right?
no.
I mean, that's what we want to avoid is the division that takes place. So I love the healing wounds thing.
Well, because you're able to share. Because a lot of times, one of the things that keeps families apart is trauma.
Yeah.
There was something horrible, and when you all get together, I can say that when those first couple of years after Eric died, getting together over Thanksgiving was, well, for me, it was healing.
Yeah.
And so I can see that being able to rehash some of those fun memories,
right?
Recalling, oh, you remember when? Well, you're addressing some of that grief that, can create a chasm and divide a family. Well, in this case, by reliving those memories,
right?
Well, you're healing some of that. And
yeah,
so it can have a positive to counter a negative that sometimes tends to occur.
Sure.
So,
I mean, that's great.
Well, I think one of the other benefits, and I'm glad you brought up, the Skyping, because I think one of the other things is that we get so caught up about Thanksgiving as family time. Well, when you're separated from your family, you feel isolated. And so by being able to reach out and, you're visiting, well, what do you want to talk about? Because, hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you eating? This, that, and the other. Well, within minutes, suddenly, boom, you're out of stuff to say. So being able to tell stories of, when we were together in years past, well, now you can help address some of that loneliness or isolation that they're feeling or that you're feeling.
Right.
By remembering and retelling some of those fun stories of the past. And so allowing, the table to basically become not just even a place of reflection, but even a possible place of redemption.
Yeah, I think that's great. Here's the problem, though, that I see. The question that I have is, what if I don't know what to say? I feel like sometimes the division that takes place because it comes around news and politics and all the things, is a deflection from, I just don't know what to say.
Sure.
And so rather than, get out into what's happening around the country or the world, what's happening in my family? What do I do? How do I get the conversation going in that direction if I don't know what to say?
Well, in that case, ask a question. If you don't know what to say, get the other person to talk and, say, hey, well, let's have a roundtable conversation on this. For example, you could say, what is one lesson that you've learned the hard way?
Ooh. And so that's not necessarily this week. It's just like in general, in my life.
Yeah. Or who in our family inspires you the most and why? In fact, I've seen a card game that is these kinds of questions, and so you could play a family game that way. I haven't bought it yet, but I mean, you can say, okay, well, tell me a time when you felt extremely proud or of yourself or an accomplishment or of someone else in the family. Or you could flip it around and go, tell a time when you were absolutely afraid. And of course, I got a funny Halloween story for that one that goes back to a haunted house in Kansas City when I was in high school. It's a funny story. You tell it, and next thing you know, you're rolling, you're laughing, and that can spawn then somebody else with another story and another story. So yeah, when you're right, we can talk about politics because that's convenient and easy, and yet it leads people down rabbit holes. And next thing you know, family members are pissed at each other.
Well, I mean, that's the easy route, right? So I like this question thing that you're mentioning. And while you're saying it, and this is totally, just something that I truly just thought of. And it's probably not new. People have done this, I'm sure. But because I've done these kinds of things in lessons before, but what those questions that you think that you have, like you could actually make up, we have this great thing called AI, and you could make up some questions with AI that are kind of deep like that, but not too revealing, right? It leaves it open enough for the person to take it where they want to take it, and take all those and put them on like cards or strips of paper and stick them in a jar. And while you're passing the food around, also pass the jar around and grab a question. Right? And then you can focus on discussion that way if we don't know what to say.
And
even if we do know what to say, get a news story that way.
Oh, absolutely. The only thing I would suggest is if you're going to do that, which I think is a wonderful and fantastic idea, make sure that they are open-ended questions that invite reflection. Because by doing so, it's more than just a short, simple response.
Sure.
They're having to think about it. And again, they're telling a story, which provides so many positive benefits, connections, and strengthening a family when I feel like we need it more now. As much now as we've ever needed it. I don't want to say more now than at any time, but we need it as much now as any point in time because family is always there.
Well, I think we can create some questions and connect them to the podcast.
Sure, we can
today, and that way you can see some ideas, so they can show up as a link. But I really like that. I think I'm gonna implement that on Thursday with my family and see what they say. And I like the jar. So I had thought of a couple of ways to do it. And other people might be thinking this too, like, put it under their plate. And the reason I wouldn't do that is because I know who's going to sit there most likely.
True.
And I don't want to choose the question for them.
Okay.
I want to have them pick the question. And you don't necessarily direct it at another person. So I'm not going to be like, so, hey, Rod, what did you X, right? Like I'm just going to ask it out and let whoever answer, and maybe 3 different people answer. Right. And that gets the conversation going. So you don't want to like force the question on the person, and you don't want to force them to answer a question. So just let it flow from that question.
I think I love it. I really like that idea. I would also in addition to making your questions open-ended and reflective, I would encourage a few ground rules.
Okay.
Ground rules that would allow for no interruptions. Let the person speak until they're done. Mm-hmm. Make sure that we're not criticizing or there's no criticism in what they say or how they share it.
Mm-hmm.
And most importantly, do the one thing that we really struggle with. Well, I struggle with. Listen more.
Yeah.
The old adage, we got 2 ears and only one mouth for a reason.
Yeah.
But I think that I love it. I love your idea. I'm going to actually probably do the same thing. I'm not going to share with my siblings that this is what we're going to do until it's time to do it. I don't know. Some of them listen to the podcast.
See, they're going to hear this. They're hearing this morning, and they know that in 3 days you're getting together. They're coming with their own questions.
Okay, fair enough.
And that's fine, right? But and you know, and you could do that too, right? Everybody write down a question. You could do that, or maybe do it the first time with generated questions, and then next year people will have their own questions.
Oh yeah,
right. So it could be a fun thing to do. You don't have to buy it, right? There's no cost involved. You just grab a little jar or a bowl or something, and maybe surprise them. And while you're passing around the food, just put that bowl or jar into rotation, and everybody takes one.
I love that.
And and if they don't like the one they got, they can pick a different one, right? But you can have more. You should have more questions than you have people.
Yeah.
That way, it's a little less stressful for people to be forced to have some question. But I think it could generate a lot of fun and keep it away from all the divisive topics.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
you might learn something about the people that you think you know all your life.
Mm-hmm. And this can lead to something, and we've talked about this a multitude of times, and I love the saying, and it's not mine, but have an attitude of gratitude.
I think that was our whole podcast episode last year.
It was. And I think that as we're sharing stories, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Thanks for bringing up that fun memory. Thank you for making me laugh. I haven't laughed that hard in so long. We are individuals, but we're also family.
Right. I don't want to make your story my story.
No.
And I don't want to top your story with my story.
No.
I just want to hear your story, enjoy it, thank you for it, and then we'll do another story.
My mom was blessed with, she was the youngest of 7 kids, and she had 5 older brothers. And you get those guys together, it was like going to a comedy tour. And they would do this all the time. They didn't need a jar, but they would tell a story, and one story would spawn another story from another brother. And then that would spawn another story from another brother. And I love that memory. Mm-hmm. So being able to create that kind of storytelling that leads to laughter and humor. I mean, laughing so hard that your sides hurt, that you're crying because you're laughing so hard. It doesn't matter what else is going on. They can all those issues can fade away, and you just have these happy, fun memories. So
I think it could totally transform a Thanksgiving, especially if you traditionally have Thanksgiving meals that are contentious and divisive and end in fighting, and everybody is just glad to go home. I think you might find doing something like this might lead you to a point where you're like, wow, that time has gone by so fast, and now it's time for some dessert, and we're going to keep doing it.
I mean, storytelling can remind us that we are part of something greater than ourselves.
Yeah.
And we are, and I'm going to use a quote here, but we are a tapestry of people who have lived, laughed, loved, and have grown before us.
Yeah.
And I just absolutely, I'm glad we went down this a bit of a weird rabbit hole, but it's something that you do without really thinking that you do it, but there's actually a lot of value and benefit. And
well, here's the thing. I don't think we intentionally do this enough.
Oh, true.
Right. I think that we're busy. Like in the United States, we are like the busiest people in the world.
Oh, that is true.
We just do things all the time, and it's not always connected to the people we're around. And so, when we used to work in the same building, frequently we would have some time in the morning that we would get together even for 10 minutes with certain people that would show up, and it was open to everybody, but
Our
people
morning
would show
meeting.
up, and it would be, we called it the morning meeting, but it's unofficial.
Yeah.
And it was just, it's just relational, right? And it made the rest of the day so much better. And so, those kinds of things don't always happen, and they're happening less and less in families because everybody's just so busy. And then when they come home, their method of relaxation is the phone
Yeah.
or the TV. And that's not how we're designed. And we've talked about that many times. So storytelling is great, right? It gets us to know each other, and it gets us talking. And if you can do it around food, that's even better. And so lots of fun, but we should, all those things that distract us, just put them away. We can just put them aside. Somebody, we'll get to that. There's nothing really happening on Thanksgiving that you have to pay attention to, right? The
No.
whole point is to relax and spend time with family.
Well, and I was just thinking of this. This would work even with non-family gatherings.
Sure.
I remember going through the divorce group, we would get together for Thanksgiving
Yeah.
or do a Christmas gathering or a New Year's gathering because we didn't have our kids. We were feeling kind of withdrawn and lonely. But in a friends group, you could do exactly that jar thing because it's strengthening that friendship, strengthening that relationship. And again,
Yeah, you can do this at work. Celebratory stories. What's a celebration you had this week? Just real quick at the beginning of a meeting, get people feeling good, get people connected, and then productivity goes up.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
It's just all of these things relationship is how we're built,
very much so.
and we deny ourselves that all the time.
Well, then I guess
So-
we got a little work to do to come up with some fun questions.
Well, I've already done most of my shopping, but probably have to go get a few additional things. And even if I don't, I probably will because I love food. So that'll give us even more food.
Okay.
I tend to overdo it, family game nights or Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever. We just overdo the food. Unbelievably. And it's, but we eat forever afterwards. So it's not like we
yeah.
waste it. So
No, nothing like leftovers.
It's just so much fun. So I'm looking forward to it. And I hope you have a great Thanksgiving this week as well. I know you'll be in Arkansas. So,
Well, thank you.
and I'll still be in Texas, but
That's all right.
it'll be warmer where I am. So I'm okay with that.
Well, no worries. Well, brother, happy Thanksgiving
Happy
to
Thanksgiving to you and your family,
you and as yours as
It's-
well. And we will,
and to all the listeners, right?
yes, wherever you are.
Thank you for listening. We just do this for fun. And
Yes.
we're glad that you're enjoying it enough to keep listening.
Well, then until next time, I'm Rod.
I'm Scott.
See you later.
Bye-bye.